Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular meeting. And we have just 2 more regular meetings to go before the end of our 4-year term. So how fast did that time go? So anyway, I will now call the meeting to order. The agenda is there before you. Could I have a motion to approve, please? Moved by Councillor Crowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Woodford. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Minutes of the meeting from June 24th. Are there any errors or omissions? No. Any business arising? Any correspondence, Madam CAO?
All correspondence is being dealt with in committees.
Okay, all correspondence is being dealt with at committee. I just want to repeat that because your mic wasn't on. Okay, so now we'll move on to the updates, starting with planning and development, and we have Deputy Mayor Woodford and Councillor Windsor.
Good evening, everybody. The Planning and Development Committee, we met on July 16th via Zoom with all committee members in attendance. There was no other business to discuss other than the applications that we had received. 6 applications were reviewed at this meeting and 4 were recommended for motion of council. I'll get right into the motions, but I'll first ask my co-chair, Councillor Windsor, do you have anything you want to add?
No, Deputy Mayor, all good here.
Okay, perfect. I'll move right in then to the motions. First is our permits, of course. Be it resolved to table and approve the attached permit listing. 31 permits were issued from June 19th to July 17th, 2025. Permit number 06-0179-25 to 07-0209-25. And they included permits for residential build, commercial build, extension, fences, signs, general repairs, accessory building, home-based business, patio, occupancy, and paving, a whole host. So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor. Could I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Sadie King. Further discussion? If not, all those in favour? Against, motion is carried.
The next is for a residential build at 21 Godson's Road. The zoning is RMD. Be it resolved to approve the above application in principle subject to the town's municipal plan and development regulations. So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion? And that's straightforward.
It is a straightforward residential build. However, this there was a previous application that was received for the neighboring lot that was owned by this applicant. They faced some issues with developing the lot, so they asked us to cancel the other application they had in, and they resubmitted this one. Yeah, okay. So everything met the regulations.
Okay, thank you very much. Moved and seconded. All those for the motion, all those in favor of the motion. Those against, motion is carried.
The next is a residential build as well at 489 Conception Bay Highway. The zoning is RMD. Be it resolved to approve the above application in principle subject to the town's municipal plan and development regulations. So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Crowley. Further discussion? Nope. If not, all those in favor? Against, motion is carried.
The next is for a residential extension. It was an attached garage for 1 Golden Eagle Way, the zoning RMD. Be it resolved to refuse the above application as a certified plot plan was not submitted with the application in accordance with the town's municipal plan and development regulations. So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion.
This application for this extension on to a house for the garage did not come with the plot plan. The applicant was asked to provide the plot plan, and they refused. So we didn't have any choice but to refuse the application because that is a requirement under our regulations.
Okay.
Okay? That's
So-
why it was refused. So if the applicant wants to resubmit
Right.
with the plot plan, then we will certainly have another look
Go
at
back
it.
and
Yep.
review. Okay. All right, all those in favor of rejecting this motion, please raise your hand. Those against, motion is carried.
And our last motion for this evening is a subdivision, Phase 1 of a subdivision at 66 Ridge Road. Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood conditionally approve the concept plan for subdivision Phase 1 for 66 Ridge Road. This conditional approval is subject to the developer providing engineered plans and entering into a development agreement, both of which are to the satisfaction of the town. So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Crowley. Further discussion?
No, this is another great economic driver for our town. It's another subdivision. And Phase 1, I think, is 10 bills in that phase. And it's on the other end of Holyrood. So it's great that we're seeing the subdivisions applications coming in and following the subdivision bylaws and everything that we set up.
Right.
I think that's the key here for me to move forward as well, to conditional approval, subject to your development agreement and the engineer plans. So that's really important.
Yeah.
And once they
Exactly.
come in, then we can move on further,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And all that's been fine-tuned through the
Absolutely.
new bylaw.
Yeah. And our town planner, the committee, and everything. Yes.
So basically, they got all the boxes to check off, and until such time as they're all checked off, then the development cannot proceed.
Right.
Correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Got it. And I
Councillor
just want
Wilson.
to, not to belabor the
you
point,
go
you know, or continue the discussion unnecessarily so, but, you know, it is important. I just want to support the Deputy Mayor and what she's just said, and Councillor Crowley and Mayor. We've learned a lot of lessons over the years from subdivision developments that maybe did not go so well. And we sought the advice of planning professionals, legal professionals, engineering professionals, and it's really important for everyone to understand this is a conditional approval. All requirements need to be met before things go forward. That should, if not eliminate, mitigate the risk of further problems, certainly.
reduce.
Yeah, so comfortable with what we are doing as a town in this regard? Yeah.
Well said. Okay. All right, that has any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Those against? Motion is carried.
And that's it for planning and development, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And now we'll move on to recreation and community events. Unfortunately, Councillor Tilley was unable to join us this evening, so Councillor King, you're up.
I guess so.
Pardon?
Anyway, we didn't have a meeting for recreation this past month, but things have been really busy. So before I do an update, I first of all want to congratulate our CAO, our recreation director, the office staff and public works staff for all the planning and organizing that had to be done to make our Squid Fest a success. Being it wasn't on the beach, it took a lot more work to get this off the ground this year. So congratulations are in order for all of you. As well, we had 20 events, more than 20 actually, for all ages, and all the events seemed to be well attended, and from those you talked to, it was an enjoyable time. I also want to say a special thank you, and that as well goes to our CAO, the office staff, and all the public works, who worked so hard dealing with the water crisis that we've seen this past week or more. A lot of hard work, a lot of hours that nobody knows or nobody saw how many hours was done behind the scenes. Those involved in this went above and beyond the call of duty.
Here, here.
So I think they deserve a big round of applause, not only from us, but from all the residents. Nobody was without water. They may not have lots of water, but they weren't without, and that was a great thing for the sea. With regard to the Squid Fest, a lot of others were involved just besides the staff. We have to give a huge shout out to our banner sponsor, Upper Limit Industrial, for their support, and to all other sponsors who came forward and supported the community. This just can't happen with council. You have to have other people involved. This year, we saw a larger number of community sponsors, and this is very encouraging both to the Recreation Department as well as council, who are determined to improve our community events for the benefit of all residents. We also recognize our event partners, again our staff, and all residents for their support. I'm sure most of you know or have seen that the softball field is now lit, something that's a long time in the making, many, many years. This massive undertaking has taken both cooperation and creativity and professional support of Upper Limit Industrial, who made this a reality for us. The work is completed. The lights are designed specifically for our field. Special attention was given to every detail, including designing appropriate brackets to hold the lights, to each light being specifically aligned according to a professional surveyor. The lights are referred to as sport lights, which ensures longevity. They're not going to go tomorrow or the next day. The lights, now combined with our extended field, which was done by Buckles Contracting last year, now opens our field to other events using national and international events. Camp Ahoy is in full activity mode, with the children taking part in planned activities and outings. The staff are working well together to ensure everyone enjoys the experience. Last but not least, CB Soccer is in play, and the enrollment is approximately 80 young athletes. Oh, and one other thing, the park is now officially open all the time from 1 to 7. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that update, Councillor King. Any further questions or comments?
Okay, so we also have a motion. Sorry, you missed that one.
Oh, yeah.
Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood accept the bid for service from Mills and Wright and Avalon Mountain Bike Association at a price of $24,485 plus HST, for a total of $28,157.75 for design services to develop a design-built RFP for mountain biking and hiking trails in Zone 3 from the Holyrood Trails Master Plan. This money is a component of the 2025 budget for the purpose of promoting recreation activity through trail development. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Sadie King, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
I'll just make a quick comment in support of the motion. I mean, it's growing sport, which attracts a lot of tourism activity. And it was just last night, if anyone caught the NTV Evening News, and Mayor Breen in St. John's was talking about the activities coming in the summer games. And one of the features in the games is the Pippi Park Mountain Bike Skills Park, which will be an asset to that community and certainly the province when the games are over. So it's a real indication that it really is a growing sport. So by us doing this in our community, we'll continue to attract people. I think it's money well spent. It's good.
Absolutely. And I see a lot of young people and even adults on these mountain bikes, and they've got the wide tires, and they've got certain routes in certain areas. But you know, the fact that we're moving forward on that, as you just said, it's becoming an extremely popular, you know, recreation sport, and it's a great opportunity that parents and children and everything can go off as a family on a mountain trail and enjoy their day, and it's great, and we're going to see that grow into the future for sure. So it's all part and parcel of the overall recreation master plan that we are developing for the benefit of all ages in the community.
And from a CSA point of view, we just wanted to point out that, as it does say, it was already a component of the 2025 budget. And I do want to point out that when we put out public calls for people to come in and present and make requests during the budget consultation process, the Holyrood Trails Association were a group that took advantage of that. One of the very few people who took advantage of our public consultation came in and, laid out what they're willing to do and the volunteer hours they're willing to put in and where it's going. So, and just to point out too, that this is a different pot of money, obviously, than you would put into your water and your sewer and your infrastructure and public works. So, the money is there from other venues and other avenues. So it's really important to notice that we can still work on our infrastructure while promoting this recreational development as well.
I'm sure we all recognize it, this time of the year when the weather is nice. The numbers of people that I'm seeing out and about in this community is just incredible. I mean, to drive around the community on the weekend, it was just a hub of activity with the boardwalk and up to the park and George Cove Mountain. I just swung up there to see the cars, and everywhere you go in the community. And I tell you, people are coming from everywhere, a lot of visitors, because I speak to people, I'm inquisitive to find out if they're from Ontario, if they're from down the shore, or if they're from, somewhere across the province. But we do have a huge number of visitors in this community and tourists. And this is what they want. That's why they're here. That's why they're not in these larger urban centres. They want to get out in the countryside. They want to enjoy, looking at the ocean and the smell of the ocean. See the whales out in the harbour. People catching cod on the shoreline. The capelin rolling. You take somebody living in downtown Toronto who hasn't seen, probably born and raised in Ontario, interior Ontario, hasn't seen salt water or whales. You can't put a price tag on what we have here in the community. So when we have these added amenities that they can avail of, walking trails, hiking trails, mountain bike trails, this is what they're here for. This is why they're here. So it's all good. Okay, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay, Councillor King, thank you for that update. Now we'll move on to infrastructure and public works. So we have Councillor Windsor and Councillor King.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works and Infrastructure Committee did meet during this cycle this month, but a number of matters discussed there. But I think the only thing that Councillor Sadie King and I want to present on behalf of the committee and to council and residents is an update on our water woes, we'll call it, right? Put nicely, the water system production and availability issues. So I'll give a little update on that. It's only about 10 pages. It's 3 actually, bear with me. I'll provide that update. And there's one motion that we have as well that we'll read after that. So on the update for the water system availability, so for councillors, a lot of this information you've already received in your inbox from the CAO. So you'll be hearing it again with my own little spin on things, but mainly for the public, I think, to understand what we have all gone through together. So bear with me now as I read off prepared briefing note. The issues we recently experienced were not unique to our town. Our neighbours in CBS also experienced a higher water usage, 15 to 20% higher than their normal summer average, in fact. And they assess their infrastructure for leaks, and they have a more sophisticated system than we do. They have more PRVs and meters throughout the system. So they were able to identify that there were no significant leaks. So their 20% increase in usage was deemed to be driven by the unseasonably high hot summer temperatures and dry spell. And that's no different for us, one town over. We experience the same hot weather and lack of rainfall. But unfortunately, we also had some equipment reliability problems compounding that problem. So I'll explain that in a little bit. And I just want to remind everybody out there that our water supply does depend on a series of wells. Like I've said before, we're all on a well, right? And that is a system of 8 wells, and they pump to a service tank by George Cove Mountain. And essentially, the system sees its demand during the daytime when we're all up and we're doing the daily activities that we need to do, washroom, cleaning of laundry, dishes, all the things. Nighttime, most people are gone to bed, the system recovers and brings the level up in the pump, in the tank from the 8 wells, okay? Now, each well has a different production rate. We're actually fortunate that this particular well we had a problem with wasn't one of the more prolific producers, because it could have been a lot worse. So the problem was on Liam Hickey Drive well. So we have Liam Hickey Drive well, we have the Swim Park well, we have a series of 3 wells at the ball field, we have O'Connell's in North Arm, Healy's well in Woodford Station, and Quinlan's well in Woodford Station as well. And they all vary in production rates ranging from 2 gallons per minute to a combined for 3 at the ball field over 100 gallons a minute. The one on Liam Hickey Drive produces normally 16, 17 gallons a minute. So that's the one we had the problem with. So in late June, that well was not producing water at its normal rate. Our system, we have the ability to see that data, and that indicated a possible malfunction. So to be proactive, staff did the right thing. It was a prudent approach. They initiated a replacement plan for that pump. Knowing we have 7 other wells that are operating, let's replace that pump, which has been in service for 15 years. Probably time. So the repair plan that staff initiated was affected by 2 key considerations. One is the availability of a pump. This is something that has to be ordered in from out of province. This pump is very expensive and is not something that we would normally hold in town inventory. And second, the availability of a drilling services company with a boom truck who understand the dynamics in removing a deep well pump 200 feet deep, disconnecting cables, wiring, and then successfully reinstalling it to a depth of 200 feet without damaging it or compromising the integrity of the well for future. So staff ordered a pump based on the data sheet, and they secured a new hose required for installation. When the order came in, when the pump arrived, it was observed that the pump is of a different design and capacity, not what was required, and that had to be reordered. Thankfully, our contractor, Squires Drilling, they had a temporary loaner pump available, but of a lower capacity, but something to install to get some production from the well. That was coupled with the increased usage of water in the town from a normal 1 to 2 feet a day in the tank. Now, so we're going to translate here now the volume of the tank. Right? So a foot of level in that tank equates to 8,500 gallons of water. Okay, so our normal usage, 1 to 2 feet a day, that's 8,500 to 17,000 gallons, increased to 4 to 5 feet a day, that's 34,000 to 42,000 gallons. That's 2.5 times the normal usage during this hot weather we just had. So we saw our tank go down to single digits, lowest has been in a long time. So combined with the high usage, and the hot weather, no rain, and we got a pump that's at lower capacity. So the repairs at Liam Hickey Drive were lengthy. That involved the pump replacement and the casing replacement in 20-foot lengths for a full 200 feet. So it's a big job. We did suffer another setback when the temporary pump malfunctioned and separated from the casing on Sunday, July 13th. So on Monday the 14th, the repairs were being made. The decision was taken to institute the water ban. We'd already been advising to conserve water during the hot weather, but now all this information was stacking up, and we were going down to a concerning level in that tank. We had to institute a water ban. And as Councillor Sadie King pointed out earlier, nobody was without water for their daily activities, so we got through that. So that's where we came to the ban. So people are using water at a much higher rate than usual due to the hot weather, and we had much less water going into the tank to recover. On Saturday, the 19th of July, we finally had the new higher capacity pump for installation to replace the contractor's temporary inferior pump. Great. Immediately, increased water levels were observed. The tank was coming up every night to about 3 to 4 feet of water a night, 25,000 to 35,000 gallons. Excellent. On Monday, yesterday, some refinement of the control panel with the pump was required, and we're continuing to monitor the situation. At this moment, the tank is at 18 feet. So that's excellent.
That's good. Yeah.
So as soon as the levels are increased and stable, that's the key thing here, we want to make sure it's stable, we will discuss a decision around lifting the ban. Stay tuned on that. During this time, the town also conducted a full sweep of the entire town, 152 fire hydrants we have. One leak was identified. So we had the pump, a leak, the hot water, all these things combined. So the leak was identified with contractor RPM aerial, and one was indeed located at Woodford Station. So that's been repaired now. Just yesterday by Buckles Contracting. That also improves the water that's going back in the tank. We're all very lucky that we were able to manage and control the situation. The problems that were experienced were not related to anything council or staff did or did not do. The pump was at the end of its useful service life, 15 years old. It was installed in 2010. Availability, design, and serviceability of water pumps, that's an issue all municipalities have to face, unfortunately, but together we manage it. And procedures and protocols were followed. Residents had water for all their necessary daily activities. There was inconvenience by not being able to wash your vehicles, water your lawns, or fill up or top up your pools. In terms of the safety, and I would anticipate that my colleague, Councillor Bruce King, might have some things to say on that in his update from the safety committee. In terms of emergency response, safety and readiness for fire suppression, the pumpers were full. The fire department had the ability, as they always do, to draw from natural water sources like the rivers, with backup support from other aid stations in the neighbouring communities. So our fire department, council staff had an action plan in place in case of an emergency fire if we got into a situation where we never had enough water in that tank, for example. To our residents, your understanding and cooperation to work within our constraints is very much appreciated. Most residents respected our request for help during this time, and that's why we succeeded. Thank you. And to the staff, and I echo the comments from Councillor Sadie King, thank you. A lot of hours worked here, weekends, night times, all while managing a very successful Squid Fest. Just so much work done by staff. Your hard work, your perseverance, and the close monitoring communications during this process, so greatly appreciated. Well done, and thank you. Now, so finally, like going forward, I want to make sure everybody knows that we do have many improvements that have been in the works for a long time, and they are coming for our water system infrastructure. The land is cleared on George Cove Mountain for the new tank. The new tank is coming. We are working with the province, budgetary, engineering issues, but we have a plan, and current plan is to install that new tank next year, 2026, and it is almost double the capacity of the old tank. So the current tank is 250,000 gallons, approximately. New tank is almost 550,000, it's 543,000 gallons. This is going to be an excellent improvement. On top of that, the town is also working with engineering consultants and the province to improve our water system. For example, we're planning for additional well exploration and testing. And a good suggestion was made by staff to bring a vendor like Squires Drilling in and talk about pump selection. So combining the engineering consultant with the real world Squires Drilling or other companies like that, maybe there's some things we can do to improve the system that we have in place. So right now, I mentioned we have 18 feet of water and climbing. It's over 150,000 gallons. And with the verification of the system stability and the welcome change in the weather, The town will communicate lifting the ban at the right time. So that's it. Again, thank you to all the staff and to all the residents out there who worked with us on this community problem. Thank you. I'll open the floor to discussion by other councillors before I do the motion, if you like.
No, I think that was, do you want to speak, Councillor King?
No, I just want to say, I fully concur with what Councillor Windsor said, and I also want to concur with the fact that the staff and everybody else did a fantastic job. But it also goes to the residents, because you and the CAO and the public works staff can do all the work they want. But if people are not abiding by the rules and not conserving water when the time comes, it's almost like a game of going nowhere fast, right? And people have to remember, okay, you couldn't wash your car. Okay, you couldn't do your driveway or whatever. But the key that people have to remember is, with regards, especially, and I'll talk about that after in public safety, the priorities have to be people and their property. So you have to be able to provide a level of service to people for the drinking and doing the normal daily activities, but you also got to be able to have enough water in the event of a emergency, like we see all over the town, all over different communities today, right? So yeah, some people complained, well, you know, but you gotta look at it in a different light. You got to look at it as if to say, well, if we allowed everybody to use as much water as they wanted, and then the well went dry or the tank went dry, who are they going to blame, right? You know, I mean, then it's all of a sudden it's our fault. So all that the staff and the council is doing is putting in measures to make sure these different kinds of things don't happen. And I think it was very well done, and I thank you.
Well, I'll just say that, and just to reiterate what Councillor Windsor just mentioned, I certainly, on everybody's behalf, just want to thank the residents for their patience and cooperation and understanding during this very trying time. Nobody would ever know what was going on during this time, but we were briefed on a regular basis by our CAO on what has been happening to, rectify these challenges that were happening under very, or these difficulties under very challenging times, because there was a lot of factors at play, and you touched on them earlier. When you got hot, dry weather, we're 1 month ahead in our summer, because we were in the August weather. And over usage, and then a pump malfunction. It's like Murphy's Law and the perfect storm. It all came together. If that pump had to go in the middle of the winter, wouldn't be a problem, because that tank, for the most part, it's at top capacity, right? We never had an issue with that tank for a long while, but we knew all this perfect storm was on the way, and unfortunately, when that pump malfunction, that sort of, that escalated the situation even worse. So when the tank is trying to replenish overnight, and but there's some water being used, and especially during the day, it's it's a constant struggle. And I know our CAO, the Director of Public Works, and the Public Works staff, because I used to run into the guys from time to time out around, and they were so steadfast and committed to keep ahead of this. They were determined. They knew that we were at serious levels when the tank went down to single digits, no question about it. And thankfully that we never had to deal with any forest fires. We didn't have to deal with any structure fires or anything like that that could have compromised to a certain level the water that we had left. And our staff, they were at it 24/7, constant communication between the CAO, Director of Public Works, and the Public Works staff. They were all on the same page, pulling from the same air, from the same oar. They were in constant contact with the water specialists, Squires Drilling. There was a lot of people involved in this effort to bring it to a successful conclusion. And that's the way, thankfully, it turned out. And it looks like we're outside of that caution zone right now. And please God, hopefully in the next while, we'll be able to make that announcement that, things have returned to normality. But in saying that, we still ask residents, just because we can make an announcement at some time, that we're lifting a ban, but we're still asking residents to use water wisely. They do that, send that messages even in urban areas. Water is a precious commodity. And keep in mind that our water is chlorinated. That comes with a cost. So is it really urgent, necessary for the rest of the summer to go out, pressure wash your driveway? That's not really a necessity. Or washing your car twice a week when you say, okay, I can do it once a week. Use water wisely, and that will help out, get us through the summer and hopefully avoid any potential problems that could happen, later on in the summertime. But again, I can't thank, our residents enough, because I know there was 99.9% compliance. Unfortunately, there were some that, did not want to follow the rules, and they were using a bit of extra water overnight, filling up pools and, doing other things, and that didn't help the problem at all. But, overall, it's a great outcome, and thanks again to our staff and the residents of Holyrood for their compliance and working with the town in correcting this problem. Sorry to belabor that, but I really wanted to say that.
Yeah, I thank you for that update, because that was a very
Well articulated.
very well articulated update. It provided a timeline of events. I mean, it was a very complex week of everything that was happening, and it wasn't just like one thing. It was one thing after another that was going on. And as you said, this is not a issue of the town of Holyrood. This issue is a province-wide issue. If you look at a lot of rural areas and even urban areas, they do have issues with water during this time of year, and they do put on water conservation bans and water bans throughout the summer. I know that we did have some individuals in our community that were very concerned with the lack of water and the water ban. They say, we've heard that, they got another water ban in place. Well, yes, when it's needed, when it's required, when we've gone through everything that you just noted that happened, yes, absolutely, we have to put on a water ban. But you providing that update should give those individuals within our community the information that, yes, everything is being done. Everyone here is working together. The information is being presented to every different councillor, every director, every public works individual. Everyone kind of has their own checks and measures and procedures to follow, right down to the fire department, right to our CAO and every other department. So it should provide the answers to a lot of the questions out there with water issues. And if anyone has following what we've been doing over the years, I mean, we've been trying to come up with solutions to our water issues, and we've been on a great track with what we're doing. So, kudos to everyone around the table, as the mayor said, to our public works staff, to our staff who've been up late at night, councillors around the table involved as well. Hopefully, this is just a little hiccup, and we'll move on from that. But thank you.
Great commentary, folks. Well explained. Well explained. Okay.
Okay, I do have a
We
motion.
got the motion there.
And this is necessary. Please, God, we get more rain, because this is about roof repairs. We'll all pray for rain, especially for the people in Musgrave Harbour. Wars will be fought over water in the future. Exactly, exactly.
Precious commodity in this world today.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion here because we do have two town buildings that are in need of new roofs. So I'll read the motion. It's the Heritage Building and the Fire Hall roofing projects. Be resolved, the Town of Holyrood accepts the bid proposal from On Top Roofing Incorporated in response to the town's request for proposals to complete roofing upgrades at the Heritage Building and the Fire Hall. The bid proposal identifies a cost of $50,255 HST included for the Fire Hall and a cost of $36,088.15 HST included for the Heritage Building. This was the only quote received and confirmed by the end of the submission period, June 20th at 4 p.m. There was one other bid which was received via email on Monday morning. However, the bid was closed as of 4 p.m. on Friday, June 20th, 2025. To ensure the integrity of the procurement process, the late bid was not acceptable. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Windsor, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion? Councillor Crawley.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Madam CAO, but I just want to confirm that this money again was in the 2025 budget, and it was contingent on us receiving the gas tax in time and a higher rate of gas tax return. And this is under budget from what we had allotted. Okay, I just want to confirm that everyone, there's not new money coming out again. This was already budgeted.
And it's all part and parcel of maintaining your municipal infrastructure, right? You don't wait till you have a leaky building and problems. You do these such repairs and replacements and on a regular basis as needed to prevent further issues from happening. So, okay, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, motion is carried. Thank you very much, Councillor Windsor and Councillor King, for that very detailed update. Okay, now we'll move on to economic development. Deputy Mayor Woodford.
So the Economic Development Committee, we met on July 7th with all members in attendance. We received no business applications since our last public meeting. We did discuss the upcoming business forum event that we are planning in partnership with the Marine Institute. We had talked about that before at a previous meeting. It's a networking opportunity for our local businesses and outside businesses to get together. We originally looked at the month of September. However, given that we have municipal elections and provincial elections around that time, we're going to push that out to around the end of October, but we need to meet with MI to really set a date. So once that is set, we'll have more details to follow. The committee also discussed the Holyrood Museum and the Jerry Squires Gallery. And we'd certainly like to acknowledge Linda Fraser and all of her team at the Heritage Society on the hard work that they put in on the opening of the Jerry Squires Gallery. This exhibit will certainly provide a very positive economic impact for the town of Holyrood and will certainly assist in the sustainability of the building itself as well as the Heritage Society. So congratulations to Linda and her team down there for a job well done. Go out and visit if you haven't already done so. Other than that, under our OHI, our Oceans Holyrood Initiative, the review will be completed of that in mid-September with regards to where we stand with meeting our objectives, and the goals that we've identified for this current phase. And the committee will provide an update when that has been completed and what phase 3 will look like from that point on. Other than that, that's it for economic development. Mayor, thank you.
Just to add a comment regarding the Heritage Museum, the ceremony that took place last Sunday was just phenomenal. It was an experience. It's an experience I'll never forget, honestly. Actually, it was on NTV 5 times, and they did an exclusive on it last Sunday. It was very moving, very emotional. I mean, you could feel so much in that room. It was just absolutely amazing. But the day after and the following days after, in speaking with Linda, she said they could not keep up with the volume of people who wanted to visit that gallery and the museum. They came from Ontario, from Vancouver, all over Canada. She said it was absolutely, she said, I never had enough time in the day to get a drink of water. She said we could not, and at one point they could not do the full tour because there was people waiting to get in. And she said, like, it's been flat out ever since. It's been flat out. So, you know, it's a master. I mean, we're so fortunate to have that Jury Squires gallery because, as I said before, he was known, well known locally, provincially, and nationally and beyond. And there was people here from everywhere. And as visitors and tourists come to our town in the summer, that's one place that they're going to visit. So it was good, really good. And in regard to Deputy Mayor Woodford mentioned the Marine Institute. I chopped over to the open house at the Marine Institute. What day was that? Friday. I spoke with the manager of marketing and communications, Kim Thornhill, and she said up to that point they had over 500 people go through the doors, and they were expecting another 100 to 150 people. So they were upwards of 600, 650 again, locals, residents, visitors. But I tell you, the way they had that set up, it was just absolutely, I mean, the building itself is, it's one thing that will just, you know, leave you in awe. You know, when you look at the panoramic views from 360 the building, it's just an incredible looking building. I ran into some very prominent politicians who were there. I'm probably going to get my knuckles cracked for saying this, but I was advised that who was there a couple of weeks before that? The governor of the Bank of Canada paid a visit to that building. Now, that'll give you an idea who's actually impressed and wanted to see and do a tour of that building. And you know, the stuff that's going on underneath that ocean, the ocean science and technology, you've really got to go over there and see it and have it explained to you by the staff. It's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. Companies from all over the world, they're doing their testing their product, and technology and the advancement in ocean technology is just incredible. So I strongly encourage residents, you know, in particular, and visitors, if you haven't been there, set up an appointment and go over there for an hour, because I tell you, the other day, only for the number of people that were there, we didn't want to hold everything up. And all the demonstrations they had and what they're really doing, you could have literally spent the day over there and still not taken half of it in.
Yeah.
It's just,
And I
it's
just want to
just
say that it has sparked a robotics club now over in Roncalli. Corey and Natasha Green of Holyrood kind of spearheaded it. We got it, and it's just growing and growing. And they sent a group to Skills Canada up in Ontario and so on. It was amazing, but it's sparking more interest and in that sector, which is fantastic.
Yep.
So I know at the lunch they have that robotics set up, so they have some people showing it. It's fantastic. And to see that opportunity for the kids coming up through school now, they even had grade 6s from Holy Cross there as well, going to Skills Canada, is phenomenal to see that, because we know it was out there and available in other sectors, but we weren't getting the benefit, and now we are. So I'd like to acknowledge that.
and the stuff that they can monitor that's going on underneath the ocean with species and everything underneath the ocean, like was said to me before by Glenn Blackwood, who used to, he was the head of the Marine Institute. He said, we see what's on top of the water, but the value of what's underneath that water that we don't know about, he said, you really don't see it. And now it's all coming to fruition. Because when you can sit in an office on a computer screen and actually see that piece of technology doing its work out through Conception Bay and everything else, it's just phenomenal. So it's all exciting stuff. Okay, thank you for that update, Deputy Mayor. Now we'll move on to public safety. So we have both Councillor Kings. No, sorry. Councillor Bruce King, and you're soloed tonight, Councillor King, because your colleague is not with you.
Get up, Sadie. Okay, I figure by the time, in order to be able to beat everybody here tonight for talking, we're probably going to be here about 9:30 or so.
No, you will be.
No, I'm locking the door.
And the lights will be off.
I'm locking the door. And, just lost what I was going to say there.
I don't believe you.
We didn't have a public safety, public committee, blooper this month.
We got him stumble tonight.
But anyway,
finally.
I got a few points now that I'm back on track and the teleprompter is working. So, but no, we didn't have a public safety meeting this month, but I do have a few points. And the first one, and I know we keep talking about it all the time, but it is an issue, and that has to do with dirt bikes and ATVs. It's becoming an epidemic now, not just here in Holyrood, but if you look at, I think it was out in Pooch Cove where parents were charged and their kids were charged. There was events out around Bonavista and those places, and all over the place. So it's an ongoing thing, but we have our own problem here as well when it comes to dirt bikes and ATVs. And so far this year, there's been 5 fatalities with regards to dirt bikes, and now some of it were snowmobiles as well. But I mean, these are 5 people that probably shouldn't be where they are right now, right? And one of the things we always hear when on the news, we always hear the thing, the victim wasn't wearing a helmet, right? The victim wasn't wearing a seatbelt. The victim wasn't, and more so now, the victim wasn't wearing a life jacket, right? So we have all these people that are in a cemetery right now that shouldn't be there. They should be back where the rest of us are, right? So people need to be conscious of those things, and you know, and it is. But the problem we have here is not a Holyrood problem, and it's not going to be. I don't think it is. I don't think it's going to be solved by Holyrood because it's a Conception Bay Center problem, right? Because a person on a dirt bike can be in Holyrood 1 minute, and 10 to 15 minutes later, he's zooming back and forth the road in Avondale.
Yep.
And one of the things that Councillor Windsor brought up, and also with regards to the dirt bike trail and everything, which I think is a great idea, I think one of the things, and one of the problems I think we have, and I don't mean here in Holyrood, I mean, when I say it, I mean Conception Bay Center, is these kids have nothing else to do, only roaming around the roads, right? And it is. So the key is, like the dirt bike trail and the trail that's in St. John's, is maybe between all of us, and I mean, it's not going to happen this year, but I mean, I think if we all sat down and put our heads together, there's enough gravel pits in different places around where you could probably actually design a dirt bike trail, because I mean, that's one way. I mean, will it solve the problem? Who knows? But at least it'll give them something to do, and form like a club, but have specific rules and regulations governing the club. And one of the things that could be there is the fact that you have to abide by the rules and regulations of the Off-Road Act. And if you're caught doing off-road things on main roads, you're gone. So I mean, that's something we probably need to look at.
And we put a Tim Hortons in there.
And we put a Tim Hortons there and a McDonald's.
There you go.
Right? And then we have the problem solved. Okay? So anyway, that's something we really need to look at. The other one is with regards for forest fires is becoming a norm now, right? I mean, we've just had Badger, we have Musgrave Harbour, we got Chance Harbour, all of these places. And like what Councillor Windsor said, I did a little bit of research on it, and I can't remember the exact number of in the single digits that the tank went down. I can't remember what number it was, but I think you did refer to it. It almost was single digits, or it was single digits.
Got as low as 4 feet, Bruce.
Yeah, okay, and then, because,
About 32,000 gallons.
yeah, because I did a little bit of research on it, and a single family dwelling, or even a small home, depending on what it was, could consume up to between 10,000 and 100,000 liters of water before you could put the fire out. Now, if a structural building like some of the buildings we have here, stores and stuff, if that happened, you could almost triple that, right? So imagine if we had a commercial fire or a structural fire, when the water tank was at its lowest, it would almost suck the tank dry before, you know, the fire was out or whatever. So people need to take these things into consideration when they're complaining about watering your lawn and doing your driveway, because all it takes is one incident and all that water in the tank is gone, right? And then who's going to get the blame of it? The other one is everybody should have a plan, right? It's the same as hurricanes, the same as everything. You should have a plan, you know, look at where you live, because the town of Holyrood is completely surrounded by woods, right? And even in the woods, or in where the houses are, up where I'm at, if there was a forest fire, we'd be marshmallows by the end of the day, okay? You know, so I mean, it's all, we're in a wooded area. So you need to make sure you have a go bag, or the same as what we talked about for other things. And also the fact is, you know, paperwork, your passports, your wills, and all the other important documents. Is it in your house? Because if you look at some of the people out in Adams Cove, they went to work in the morning, right? They left and got in the car and went to work like we all, well, I don't because I'm retired, but other people that work, they came home to ashes, right? So, you know, all that stuff is gone. So people need to be cognizant of that as well. The food fish, we already talked about. We watched some of these people go out, not last week, but the weekend before, in stuff that you probably shouldn't be out on the Atlantic Ocean in, right? Fishing, because the wind changes very quickly, and the Coast Guard has already talked to people about, you know, you shouldn't really have this thing out in the open sea, and you should be wearing a life jacket. And the last one I got on that one is moose vehicle collisions. There's already been one young fellow that was killed there a few days ago in a moose vehicle collision. I went out to Carbondale yesterday morning, and who jumped up off the bog? You know, he wasn't coming across the road, but he was pretty close, right? So people need to slow down, and more so in rural areas where the trees are touching the pavement, because as soon as that thing walks out of the woods, you don't have no time before he's in the seat next to you. Okay, so people need to slow down because of the fact that there's moose out there. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Any questions or comments, Deputy Mayor?
No, I just wanted to provide an update because you were talking about the ATV and dirt bike issue. And I know that the RCMP have been patrolling the track. Okay? So just to put that out there, that I know for sure that they were patrolling the track on Skibbereen to Avondale. I don't know what other sectors. Okay, so they are aware of the issue and they are doing their due diligence in patrolling. Just wanted the public to know that.
And I've noticed a change in the traffic patterns over the last while too. That you're not hearing as much rumbling and craziness going on in these areas. It's tempered down. Yep. Yeah, their presence, I tell you, it's invaluable. Okay, now we're going to move on.
Oh, sorry,
sorry.
Just about a little small bit. I'm getting up anyway, doing communications, so it's kind of part of that. Just to reiterate, Councillor King, when you were saying about the water tank and dropping, don't forget that there was contingency plans in place though, and all the water was available. Because you were saying if the tank dropped to nothing, then we'd have nothing, but that's not the case, right? We still had, like, not to put panic in it, we still had contingencies and backups and pumpers full and ponds and stuff like that for fire. Yeah, but it would have used up the tank, and households wouldn't have had regular, but it wouldn't have used the tank, right? The plan was to not to use the tank. The plan is the backup plan.
That's right. I think the point Councillor
Yeah.
can speak for you, but I think the
Go
point
for it.
Councillor King was trying to make is that how
How rapidly it falls.
could
I
be
totally
a
understand, yes.
major
Yes.
Yeah,
situation.
I just wanted to make sure that people didn't panic that we didn't have, yeah, the tank dropped, yeah.
Yeah, no, there was a contingency
Yeah.
plan.
Rivers
Yep.
and neighbouring stations.
Exactly.
Okay, Councillor Crawley, you got the floor now
Okay,
for,
it's my turn to
the
talk
next
on
two
communication. I'm not gonna be as kind as the rest of you, I don't think, when I speak on communication at this point. I'm using it as a teachable moment. I am. I'm going to use this teachable moment, and probably no one out there is going to be affected by it, but I'm using this teachable moment because I equate it to as a parent and you're cooking supper and your toddler's there pulling at your leg and asking you for this and asking you for that and why are we not and how come you're not coming with me and how no, I need this and I need that or whatever, and then you burn supper. That's how I felt that the last couple of weeks kind of went off for some people. So our staff were working so diligently and so hard, and we had all these things lining up, like you said, the perfect storm lining up with the pump going down and the hot water and Squid Fest happening, and the CAO is dealing with everybody because she's dealing with everybody, and you have our communications person who is also the recreation director because of our operational plan, said that this was the best way forward. And so this person, this director of recreation and communication, is pulling double duty at the same time. And people are expecting immediate answers all the time. And when they're not getting it, they keep going after next person, the next person, the next person, next person, without having the considerate and kindness and empathy that people require while doing their jobs, and especially during a very stressful work weeks that just happened over the last 2 weeks. And I have the privilege of being off right now for the summer. I'm going to use off loosely because I still have all my kids and doing everything else. But like, we were getting the information that was fantastic. No one specifically was asking me, but it was all going right out on, again, keyboard warriors on Facebook and that kind of thing. And some people were using the correct means, but demanding answers, like not just requesting something, demanding that they know what was happening at every immediate. And going back to my teachable moment, we're trying to teach kids to become critical thinkers when the adults are not modeling the critical thinking, because the information was out there and the information was there. So if you had to go back a couple of posts, you would have saw that we had a problem with our pump. So even though there was a ban on saying people thinking we ran out of water, when we never ever ran out of water, we were being conservative because the pump was broken. And if you went back a couple of posts, you would see that the pump was broken and that we were having problems with that. And again,
That was all out there.
it was all out there.
Yeah.
But no one wants to look for it. Everyone wants to be handed again when they're at that moment sitting there wanting to know. And I think the empathy and the kindness and the grace is not there for our staff. And I really beg and require our residents. And again, absolutely, I'm along with all the counselors who said thank you to all the residents who did listen and who did follow the ban and who were kind and considerate and understanding. But to the few who weren't, I really, really beg of you to reconsider, to sit back and think about what you're doing and look at what's happening and know that if you were in the middle of your job and someone was calling you over and over and over and over and over again for the same reason, there's a reason that you can't get back to them because they're busy handling the situation. And when time allows, information will come out, or watch the videos. And people going, well, again, the boardwalk, it's so silly that the 1 year that we needed to have the Squid Fest up on the ball field, I'm not going there, I'm not going up to the ball field. But we're improving the town for all the residents and everyone who comes in the 1 year, and it was actually fantastic. So I want to actually go back to the ball field. I'm so excited about that. I didn't get to mention about the ball field on my own, but look at what that lends to us. So we want to get it out there that now, as you said, the international, national, we have a certified senior men's field now, large enough to host men's senior tournaments, which is phenomenal, and the lights to do it after dark. So I'm looking forward to more opportunities in our field now and more tournaments and more options. And we mentioned maybe part of Squid Fest next year could have a softball tournament and all kinds of wonderful new opportunities. But back to communication again, grace and kindness and understanding, and know that the information is already out there. Just be willing to take a step forward and grab it. And if you, again, plug into Buoyant, it is the most fantastic, especially with the fire season here and the forest fires. There's currently 6 active forest fires in Newfoundland right now. If you have the Buoyant, perfect. It's an immediate access to that information. If there's a call to be advised to evacuate, if there is an evacuation order, water issues, all goes out on Buoyant, and you will have that information immediately on hand with a map showing you exactly where things are happening and what's happening. So really, really want to encourage everyone to sign up, and we'll put a push on that again when people get to breathe. When our communications director gets to breathe, when our CAO gets to breathe after these last couple of weeks. I think that's it. Councillor Sadie King, Deputy Mayor, is there anything else?
No, that was great.
Okay. I think yeah. There is one motion. Yeah. And this is a very important motion. I don't know if I speak to it. I guess I'll speak to it after. I'll say it first. So, be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood accept the committee updates and recommendations as presented in the committee reports provided by the various departments and made available to all councillors for consideration. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion?
The further discussion is that now that we do this on a monthly basis, it is a guaranteed assurance that all councillors are checking out all departments. And I think it was something that Councillor Windsor had a conversation about one time with the Public Works. It was a correspondence that came into Public Works about how our processes are completed and if everyone's paying attention and that kind of thing. And this is part and parcel of that. And it came out with the new M&L Act. So we're abiding by the new M&L Act.
No, it's a good addition to the agenda.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor? Against? Motion carried. Now, Councillor Crowley, you can pay the bills now.
All right, so before we pay the bills, we'll do an update. And we had I first want to throw out a very big thank you to Beacon Accounting. So we now have our audit in front of us. And once we perform the motions tonight, this audit will be put up onto our website for everyone to look at. So I'm just going to briefly kind of introduce and give a little credits to things that are happening. First of all, we were a little late getting back our audit this year, but that wasn't due to us, our town. It was the auditing firm and the different regulations that we're putting in. So there's many more municipalities now participating in the audits, which weren't before. We've been doing it for many, many years. More towns are coming on because it is an MNL requirement. Yeah, so it was late. There's not a lot of companies that perform municipal audits, which makes it even more difficult. So it's late coming out, and this audit has to happen in order for us to proceed with grants and applications and programs and things like that. So it's really important that we get it out there and get it done right. However, I do want to say that the auditor did congratulate Holyrood, first of all, for having everything ready available, which again, they were kind of late coming to us, so we were ready to go. But the staff, Marie Searle, Director of Finance, our CAO, Krista Turnbull, everyone was kind of working together, and Carol Ann. So things were ready when they came, as soon as they walked in, and it was ready available. They didn't have to go looking for anything in specific. So it was a very fast turnover. So congratulations to staff. Thank you. It was very efficient. And they wanted to say that they did that Holyrood did do a wonderful job. So hats off to our staff. They also, there was a big part that came out of this, was that in a time when things are very difficult, when spending is up, the cost of everything is up, we were very controlled and very steady. So we maintained a control over purchasing and expenses and revenue coming in that they said surpassed most places as things were increasing everything. So another kudos. Thank you very much to our staff and our little overseer communities. So just to kind of point out a few things when you come up, it will be on the website. It looks like there is a significant surplus. And I just want to make you think that we're not sitting on millions of dollars in our bank accounts for that. The surplus is generated due to grants we have coming in, capital works grants and ACOA grants, all kinds of grants are coming in. So the money is being deposited into our bank accounts, but the projects are not complete. And until the projects are complete, the invoices won't come in and the money won't go out. So things are happening right now. And I wanted to point out specifically a large water program, or infrastructure project, and a very, very large sewer project are happening right now, which are in the millions of dollars, which again, some people don't seem to recognize, that come from a very, very separate pot from our ACOA grant for the festival grounds. But all that money is coming in and being deposited into our accounts from the grants and loans. So it looks like we have a very significant surplus when in actual fact we just haven't paid the invoices out for that work being completed right now.
Yeah,
So
it's an accrued expenditure, really.
really, yeah,
The
it
revenue
really
is there, but
Yeah.
the actual project is, like you say, it hasn't been completed, but is allocated for.
Yeah, so it kind of looks like false numbers, and I don't want people to get kind of worked up thinking that, but the projects are being completed, and as you can see, there's trucks and tractors and excavators and work being done all over the town and bits and pieces, and we're updating you here. But that money will very quickly go back out as well. When the audit comes up, you'll also see a list of all the loans, when they come due, when the terms are, which is very important to see. It looks like a lot of loans, but again, as we mentioned in our 2025 budget, we are well within our debt ratio. So that is confirmed, validated, but this is just part of the audit to show what's coming in and out. The other last thing was we had some disposal of infrastructure and public works vehicles and equipment, which also looks like a surplus, but of course we got to go out and purchase new equipment to replace it, and that money will go in and out. So take it with a grain of salt, but it will be up there for you to view. Again, hats off to staff because it was a very tedious process, always is, but it was fast, efficient, and the turnaround was very quick once they actually came into the building, got the information, and we were all briefed as a council earlier the week. So we had a chance to go through it and ask any questions, and now it's public's turn.
And if I could just interject, you know, I asked a question at the end, which I do on an annual basis at the end of the year. How do we fare out at the end? And there were no red flags. There were no recommendations or suggestions that there's, you know, some concerns there that
Yeah,
need
not
to
at
be
all.
addressed. It was a very, very good, healthy audit.
Yep, it was fantastic.
Overall.
And point out, this is for 2024, right?
Yeah.
Just as a resident notification, 2024.
Yeah.
Councillor King, Bruce King, do you have anything else you want to add?
Hunky-dory. Good.
Perfect. Okay.
See you in Switzerland.
Starting it off. Okay, be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood approve and accept the 2024 audit as prepared and presented by Beacon Accounting. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crowley, seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion? I think Councillor Crowley just articulated and explained that very well. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried.
And there's a number of different pieces to this, so it's one after the other. Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood approve and accept the 2024 annual expenditure audit as prepared and presented by Beacon Accounting. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried.
Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood approve and accept the 2024 tax receivable summary audit as prepared and presented by Beacon Accounting. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried.
And last, the gas tax audit. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve and accept the 2024 gas tax audit report as prepared and presented by Beacon Accounting.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Councillor Sadie King. All those in favor? Motion is carried.
Hey, and just before our last motion there to pay the bills, as you say, just want to say that our spending this year is on budget. It's on par. We're about 75, well, no, just over 50%, 60%, which is where we're supposed to be halfway through the year. So that works out really well. And yeah, Squidfest information will be forthcoming as we have a 30-day turnaround invoice and receivable now. It'll be within the next month. Okay.
Right.
Be it resolved, these accounts tabled in the amount of $215,922.43. Check numbers D4866 to D4963 and 47164 to 47241 be approved for payment from the general account. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion? All those in favor? Those against? Motion is carried.
And for a mid-year, we have a healthy bank book balance of $208,416.28. And we have some Squidfest money in there too that hasn't come in or gone out yet. I think that's it for me, Mr. Mayor and councillors.
Okay, that's a great report from the Corporate Services Committee. Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to do business. We'll do the go-around, starting with Deputy Mayor.
I think I've said it all that I need to say.
You're good. Councillor King.
Oh, you would never say.
No, I'm giving you 1 minute.
Put your heads back.
Officially get 2.
No, I just got 2
Oh,
points.
okay,
That's
2
it.
minutes.
2 minutes, one minute a point. No, I just want to mention about the museum again as well. Absolutely fantastic job. There's people going in there from every corner of the world. Actually, I met some people there a couple of weeks ago from Scotland, and they've already been down there. So that's great. The more tourists we get here, the more we get our name out there, the more things we will achieve. The last one, if you noticed the BOCM news today, they officially started to Make Your Mark campaign from M&L to try to encourage people because of the many elections that are going to be held in the October. And so everybody's encouraged to get out and vote. And one of the things that Deidre Waltz mentioned there today, and I'll just read it and it pretty well explains everything itself. She says, whether you're a grocery clerk or a stay-at-home mom, every candidate all best suit to be seated in council. So if people are out there, stay-at-home moms and grocery clerks and everybody else, put your name forward and get your signs ready. Thank you.
Well, I've often said, you know, of all levels of politics, whether it's municipal, provincial, or federal, when it comes to municipal politics, we are the people closest to our residents. And that really holds true. Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll move on to Councillor Crawley.
Just 2 little updates. Was the Northeast Joint Avalon Council sent out a RCMP listing of calls and things, and just kind of as a general, calls are down this year, which is fantastic. A little bit more violent calls are up a little bit, but overall, generally, the calls for RCMP have been down this year, which is great. And HMPC, the Holyrood Marina Park Corps, has been doing a lot of work down there, a lot of electrical and pier upgrades and things like that. So work is continuing down there as well. So it's just from the other 2 side committees.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor King.
Well, we had a great update on what happened with the water this evening. But I know there's a lot of people not online that don't know what happened with the water. would it be possible that we could put something online to just give people an update of how things were handled?
That's
Going out tomorrow.
that will go up on our website.
Thank you.
We're going to do a post as well.
Thank you very much. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
So we were hoping to have it as soon as the meeting was over. Just not enough time today. So we'll go to it tomorrow.
Okay. Councillor Windsor, you can wrap it up.
Yeah, one little thing, I guess, safety related to the, I guess, generally driving, but more specifically the roundabout. A lot of visitors on the going. During this meeting, we touched on the tourists, the activity, you know, the fishery, the whale watching, the capelin are rolling. A lot of new and different people in the community, the summer games, a lot of traffic and a lot of distracted driving. My two sons were in an accident at the roundabout last week as passengers. Everybody was okay. A person entered the roundabout, never slowed down attack, and collision. Everybody was fine. That's the main thing. But for all residents out there, everybody be aware of your surroundings. When you're entering the roundabout, slow down, and anywhere else you are. There's a lot of different new drivers to our communities. Be safe.
That's it. Great message to end the meeting. Okay, that is the agenda, and the date of the next meeting is August the 19th at 6 p.m. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Windsor. All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned.